the failure to appreciate the role of ideas in history, but it's more than that. Let me give one example about COVID, actually. So COVID hits, it's a once in a century pandemic. Everybody's scared. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Especially at first, nobody knows how dangerous it is. But people are scared. People don't understand what's going on. What's the initial response of policymakers? Really harsh lockdowns all around the world, in both red states and blue states in the United States. So the Democratic governors, who of course did it the longest and the ones who get the blame for it, but Florida, Texas, all the red states did it too. I think basically for the same reason, which is that when push comes to shove, the philosophical premises of everybody in our culture, left and right, are altruist and collectivist. And so the potentially civilization-ending problem, the solution has got to be collectivist. The solution has got to be that the government takes charge of everything and locks everybody down. And I mean, this is a really excellent example of a premise that is shared by everybody. It is all over the culture. That is the default operating procedure of our culture, is altruism and collectivism, and on the left and the right. And many of the people who are coming up with the conspiracy claims accept the ideas themselves. They don't want to blame those ideas because they accept them. Controversy about the vaccine is a particularly telling example of this, because in fact there weren't actually many government mandates in the West that you had to get the vaccine. There were some, not really in the United States, there were more in other countries. The closest we had in the US was members of the military had to take it. And hospitals where it was a condition of employment, so like you didn't have to have the job. It wasn't a real mandate, but certainly something that people would object to. People who objected to those mandates, and I think rightly, like I'm on record, I wrote an article about why vaccine mandates are a bad thing. A lot of people who are objecting to these mandates had a choice. It's like, am I going to challenge the right of the government to do something like this? Am I going to challenge the altruism and collectivism that's motivating these policies? Or am I going to challenge the science? Instead of saying, no, government doesn't have that right, I'm just going to say the science is made up, it's a hoax. Perhaps not with the same intensity, but I think it's sometimes the same dynamic with the way that people on the right deal with environmental issues, environmental claims. They would rather reject the science than just reject the altruism and collectivism and environmentalist ideas behind various environmental policies. That's really dangerous, because truth and reason are the fundamentals, at least in my philosophy.